Good evening and welcome. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a quiet forest, the kind where the air feels softer, the light dimmer, and the silence deeper than anywhere else. At first glance, the trees appear as individuals, strong, tall pillars of wood, each minding its own growth, its own stretch toward the sky. For centuries, we believed this was the truth, that trees were solitary beings, rooted in one place, indifferent to their neighbors. But listen closely, and the forest begins to whisper another story. Recent discoveries in science have revealed something breathtaking. Instead, they are bound together by an unseen web, a vast and intricate network pulsing with life. Each tree, from the smallest sapling to the oldest giant, is part of a hidden conversation that has been unfolding for millennia. Beneath the soil, threads finer than hair weave through the darkness. They belong to fungi, ancient partners of plants, forming what scientists now call the wood wide web. Through these filaments, trees pass signals, nutrients, and even warnings to one another. What once seemed like silent companions standing side by side are, in truth, a deeply connected community. One that breathes, communicates, and supports itself in ways that echo the networks we humans have built above ground. This realization did not come easily. For years, researchers dismissed the idea of tree intelligence, clinging to the thought that plants were passive. Yet bit by bit, evidence began to surface. A pattern emerged. Certain trees seemed to grow stronger when others thrived nearby, while some weakened when their neighbors suffered. These mysteries begged for answers. And slowly, science began to peel back the layers of silence cloaking the forest. When you walk into a woodland now, perhaps you'll feel the hush differently. It is not emptiness, but a kind of secret music, conversations carried in the soil, chemical murmurs drifting on the air. The forest is alive with stories we cannot hear. Yet they are constant, steady, like a lullaby beneath the canopy. As we begin this journey together, let us move gently, unhurried. Imagine this not as a lecture, but as a bedtime tale, carried on the breeze. Tonight, we'll wander deeper into the forest's hidden world, discovering how trees nurture one another, warn each other of danger, and weave their lives into a single, breathing web. By the time we reach the end, you may never look at a tree the same way again. For now, close your eyes if you wish, and picture the dark soil beneath your feet, glowing with unseen threads, connecting every root and every leaf. The forest is no longer silent, it is whispering, and tonight, we will listen. For most of human history, we thought trees lived simple, separate lives. They grew, they reached for sunlight, they drank from the earth, and eventually, they fell. That was the story. Straightforward, silent, and solitary. But nature rarely tells such simple tales. Beneath its quiet surfaces, mysteries often wait. The first clues that trees might be more than lone towers came not from grand theories, but from small, curious observations. Scientists noticed that certain trees, even when shaded by larger neighbors, seemed to survive better than expected. Young saplings, growing in dim light, should have withered, yet somehow, they endured. It was as if someone, something, was quietly feeding them, giving them a chance to reach higher. In other cases, a tree under attack by pests or disease showed changes in its neighbors, as if they had been warned. Entire clusters of trees reacted as a group, even though only one had been harmed. These strange patterns hinted at a secret exchange, an underground dialogue hidden from human eyes. At first, the idea was met with disbelief. Could trees really talk? Could they really share? To many, it sounded like fantasy, closer to myth than science. Yet the forest held its secrets patiently, waiting for us to learn how to listen. Think of it like watching stars. For a long time, we saw only the brightest ones, scattered across the night sky. But when telescopes came, we discovered galaxies, constellations, cosmic webs we could not imagine. The forest is much the same. With the right tools and careful eyes, scientists began to notice invisible threads beneath the soil, threads that stitch trees together in vast, living patterns. These first hints opened the door to one of the most fascinating discoveries in modern ecology: that forests are not just groups of trees standing together, but living communities, bound by care, communication, and balance. So when you next step into a woodland, imagine that each trunk you see is more than itself. Imagine that every rustle, every leaf trembling in the wind, is part of a story still being told, a quiet testimony to connection. The first clues were only whispers, but they led us to uncover a truth more profound. The forest is alive with conversation, and as we continue our journey tonight, we'll follow those whispers deeper underground, where the true web of life begins. Beneath the forest floor lies a world as delicate as lace and as ancient as the earth itself. If you could shrink down to the size of a grain of soil and wander there, you would see an endless maze of threads, white, gossamer strands, stretching in every direction. These are not roots, but fungi, and together they form the lifelines of the forest. Scientists call these filaments mycorrhizae, a word that means fungus root. For millions of years, fungi and trees have shared a quiet partnership, one so vital that forests, as we know them, would not exist without it. The fungus reaches into the soil, searching with extraordinary efficiency for water and minerals that roots alone cannot find. In return, the tree provides sugars, sweet rewards created from sunlight through photosynthesis. This partnership is ancient, a pact formed long before humans walked the earth. Some scientists even believe that without fungi, plants may never have left the oceans to spread across the land. It is humbling to realize that every forest today stands on the strength of this old alliance. But the wonder does not stop with trade. These fungal threads do more than connect a single tree to the soil, they connect trees to one another. Imagine miles of invisible pathways, like delicate bridges, carrying not only food but information. Through these mycorrhizal filaments, one tree can whisper to another, sending signals across the darkness beneath our feet. To picture it, think of an underground internet, where our modern web sends data and images through fiber optic cables. The forest's web carries life itself: carbon, nitrogen, warnings of danger, even reassurance. What seems like stillness above ground is It is almost like listening to an orchestra warming up in secret, every instrument tuning, sharing notes, creating a harmony we cannot yet hear. The trees, the fungi, the soil, they are not separate pieces but members of one vast, unseen community. As we drift further into this story, imagine the forest floor beneath you glowing faintly, every filament shining with quiet energy. The mycorrhizal connection is the forest's heartbeat, steady and enduring, carrying life from one tree to another. And it is here, in these silent threads, that the true language of trees begins. Not long ago, the thought that trees might share an underground network sounded like a fairy tale. Yet as scientists began tracing these fungal threads, mapping their hidden highways, a picture emerged that felt almost too extraordinary to believe. Beneath every forest lies a vast communication system, a living internet that has been at work for millions of years. The name given to this hidden system is both playful and profound: the Wood Wide Web. Just as our own digital web carries messages and information between people across the world, the forest's web carries life itself between trees. Every root tip that brushes against a fungal strand becomes part of a greater whole. A single tree, even standing alone in a clearing, may be linked to dozens of others through these unseen channels. To understand it, picture a city at night seen from above. Streets lit by lamps, bridges glowing, neighborhoods connected by shining paths of light. The forest beneath the soil looks very much the same, though its threads are far finer than anything the human eye could see unaided. And instead of electricity or data, it carries sugars, nutrients, signals, and the quiet strength of cooperation. Through this wood-wide web, Old trees can support young ones. The strong can help the weak. And warnings can spread like ripples through water. A tree under attack by insects may send out chemical distress signals through the network, alerting its neighbors to prepare their defenses. A shaded sapling, starved of sunlight, may be fed carbon by older trees until it grows tall enough to reach the canopy. This is not just chance, it is structure. A design shaped by evolution, where the survival of the whole forest matters as much as the survival of one tree. In this way, the wood wide web transforms a forest into something far greater than a collection of individuals. It becomes a single, breathing organism, alive with constant, unseen exchange. As you drift deeper into this thought, imagine standing barefoot on the forest floor. Beneath you, invisible threads extend for miles, touching root after root, carrying messages like whispers through dark soil. You are not standing in silence, you are standing on the edge of the greatest conversation of the living world. The wood wide web has always been there, hidden under our steps. We simply did not know how to listen until now. If you were to kneel down in a forest and place your hand on the soil, you might think of it as quiet earth, just dirt and roots, still and unmoving. But in truth, beneath that surface is a constant exchange, a soft current of generosity flowing from tree to tree. Through the wood wide web, nutrients move like gifts, passed quietly in the dark. A tall tree that drinks in abundant sunlight creates more sugar than it needs. Instead of keeping this energy to itself, it sends some of it downward, through its roots, into the waiting fungal threads. From there, the gift may travel to a nearby sapling, struggling in the shadows. Carbon, nitrogen, water, delicate parcels carried by the invisible hands of fungi. It is as if the forest lives by an unspoken rule. When one has more, it shares with those who have less. And in return, when times are reversed, the favor is given back. The exchanges are not noisy, not rushed, but steady and sure, like neighbors leaving bread at each other's doors during lean winters. Scientists have traced these flows and found that they are astonishingly precise. A tree under stress receives help. A sapling with the promise of survival is given the strength to endure. It is not random, it is purposeful, as though the forest itself knows where to direct its energy. Above ground, we see trunks and leaves standing apart. But below, a hidden community works in harmony, sharing without words. These silent exchanges keep the forest alive, not as a group of individuals, but as one family, each root connected, each life entwined. As you rest with this thought, imagine the soil beneath your feet glowing softly, like embers passing hand to hand in a circle. Each ember is a gift of life, moving from tree to tree, unseen, yet essential. The forest breathes not in isolation, but in togetherness. What seems like silence is, in truth, the softest kind of generosity, constant, invisible, and eternal. In every forest, there are elders' trees that have stood for centuries, perhaps even 1,000 years or more. Their trunks are thick with time, their crowns vast enough to shelter entire families of birds. These ancient giants are more than monuments. They are the living memory of the forest. And beneath the soil, their role is even greater. Through the wood wide web, old trees become guardians, sending their strength to the young. Their deep roots gather water from hidden layers of earth. Their broad crowns capture sunlight that smaller trees cannot reach. When they have more than enough, they share, sending a steady stream of carbon and nutrients into the fungal threads. These offerings flow to saplings below, fragile lives, just beginning in the shadows. Without such help, many would perish. But because of these elders, new life finds a foothold. Seedlings endure the darkness, and the forest remains whole. Scientists sometimes call them mother trees, and the name feels right. Like parents caring for children, these elders nourish not just their own offspring, but the community around them. They hold the web together, feeding, protecting, and guiding the next generation. To imagine it, picture a vast oak or cedar standing tall above you, its branches creaking softly in the wind. Now imagine invisible rivers flowing from its roots, streams of life spreading outward in every direction, touching the roots of saplings hidden far below the canopy. These rivers carry the forest's future, ensuring that when the elder finally falls, others will rise to take its place. In this way, the giants of the forest are not only symbols of endurance, they are architects of survival. Their presence allows the forest to be not just a place of trees, but a community where the old give to the young, and the young one day grow to give again. It is a circle of care, written not in words, but in quiet exchanges beneath the earth. And as you drift with this thought, perhaps you will feel the same comfort the saplings do. The knowledge that someone older, wiser, and stronger is always reaching out in the dark to help you grow. Forests are not only places of peace, they are also places of challenge. Droughts parch the soil, insects bite into leaves, storms strip away branches. Yet even in hardship, the forest does not remain silent. When danger comes, the hidden network beneath the soil awakens with urgency, carrying messages like alarm bells ringing in the dark. A tree under attack by pests or disease begins to change. It releases chemical signals into its roots, which slip into the fungal web like ripples spreading across a pond. Within hours, even neighboring trees that have not yet been touched begin to respond. They stiffen their defenses, altering their chemistry, preparing themselves for the danger. What seems like stillness on the surface is, below ground, a rapid conversation of survival. Scientists have studied these signals and found them astonishingly effective. A tree weakened by drought may send messages that allow its neighbors to adjust their water use, conserving resources for the whole grove. Others can warn of insect invasions, triggering nearby trees to produce bitter compounds that make their leaves less appetizing. It is as if the forest has its own emergency system, a way of sharing distress so that no one stands alone. Imagine walking into a forest during such a moment. The air may seem calm, the leaves quiet, but beneath your feet, an invisible warning is rushing outward. From root to root, tree to tree, every participant in the web is listening, preparing, standing together. This hidden cooperation is not unlike a village where a single shout of alarm sends neighbors rushing to their doors. Each household may face the danger differently, but the awareness spreads quickly, uniting the community. In the forest, the fungi act as messengers, carrying words not spoken but felt, a language of chemistry and survival. And in this way, the forest shows us again that strength is not found in isolation. True resilience comes from connection, from the ability to warn, to prepare, to protect one another. So the next time you see a tree standing silent in the face of wind or drought, remember, it is not truly alone. Somewhere in the soil, its roots are whispering, "Help me, be ready." And the forest, in its quiet wisdom, listens. Not all messages stay hidden underground. Some rise into the air, drifting like invisible whispers carried on the wind. Trees, it turns out, can speak through chemicals not only beneath the soil, but also through the very air we breathe. These airborne notes are called volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, tiny invisible particles that carry meaning far beyond a single leaf. When a tree is bitten by insects, it does not simply endure the attack. Instead, it releases these compounds into the air, subtle signals that drift across the canopy. Nearby trees detect them and quickly begin to prepare their defenses, toughening their leaves, altering their chemistry, even producing toxins to discourage hungry mouths. It is as though one tree calls out, and the others quietly reply, "We hear you. We're ready." This kind of chemical conversation may seem strange to us, because we cannot see it, and we cannot hear it. Yet in the forest, it is as real as the wind itself. Some scientists describe it as a constant background murmur, a language of scents and particles that trees use to share information. A famous example comes from Africa, where acacia trees grow across the savannas. When giraffes begin feeding on their leaves, the trees quickly pump out bitter-tasting chemicals to make the meal less pleasant. But they don't stop there. The acacias also release a cloud of warning gases, carried by the breeze. Downwind, other acacias detect the signal and begin producing their own defenses, even before the giraffes arrive. It is a remarkable kind of foresight plants, often thought of as passive, quietly preparing for battles through invisible words in the air. And it is not limited to acacias. Many kinds of trees, shrubs, and grasses send these airborne messages, filling the atmosphere with signals too subtle for us, but vital for them. So the next time you stand in a forest and feel a breeze move through the leaves, imagine it carrying more than just the scent of earth and pine. Imagine it carrying conversations, soft and chemical, passing from one tree to another, like letters without envelopes, carried swiftly on invisible currents. The forest, it seems, is never truly silent. Even in stillness, it is always speaking through roots, through fungi, through the air itself. And all around us, those quiet conversations continue, whether we notice them or not. On the golden savannas of Africa, where the horizon stretches endlessly and the air shimmers with heat, stands the acacia tree. Its thorny branches and delicate leaves seem simple enough, yet it has a secret, a quiet strategy for survival that astonished scientists and forever changed the way we see plants. In the 1,990 seconds, researchers noticed something peculiar. Giraffes feeding on acacias never moved in straight lines from one tree to the next. Instead, they walked against the wind, traveling many meters before choosing another tree. Why? The answer lay not in the giraffe's hunger, but in the acacia's response. When giraffes bite into their leaves, acacias release special airborne chemicals, warning gases that drift with the wind. These chemicals tell nearby acacias that danger is near. Within minutes, those trees begin producing bitter compounds in their leaves, making them far less appetizing. Giraffes seem to know this instinctively. By moving against the wind, they avoid trees already forewarned and defended. The experiment was simple yet profound. Scientists measured the chemical changes in acacia leaves and confirmed what seemed almost unbelievable. Trees were not passive victims of herbivores, they were active participants, warning one another, preparing. Imagine this from the giraffe's perspective. A tall, silent tree suddenly turns its leaves unpleasant, while across the plain, another tree already braces itself before the giraffe even arrives. For the animals, it is a challenge. For the acacias, it is communication, a way of protecting not just themselves. This discovery became one of the most striking pieces of evidence that plants are capable of sharing information above ground. What once seemed like lifeless greenery revealed itself as a network of vigilance, where survival depends not on isolation, but on cooperation. So the next time you picture the African savanna, don't imagine only the drama of lions and gazelles, or the graceful stride of giraffes. Picture also the quiet defense of the acacias, the invisible messages drifting on the breeze, the community of trees standing together, silent yet alert. Even in the harshest landscapes, life finds ways to speak. When we walk through a forest, it is easy to think of silence, the soft crunch of leaves beneath our feet, the hush of branches overhead, the occasional song of a bird. Yet, beyond what our ears can hear, there is another layer, an invisible chatter, a quiet hum of communication that never stops. Trees are speaking all the time, not with voices but with chemistry. Some messages travel underground, carried by the filaments of fungi. Others drift through the air, wrapped in invisible plumes of scent. Each tree contributes to this ongoing exchange, a constant background conversation that holds the forest together. To us, it feels like stillness. To the trees, it is alive with signals, warnings, reassurances, gifts of food, subtle reminders of balance. Every leaf and root is both a sender and a receiver, taking part in a community that never truly sleeps. Scientists describe these processes with precision: molecules, compounds, pathways, but there is a poetry in them, too. Imagine each tree as a musician in a great orchestra. Some play softly, others loudly. Some join only when danger comes, but together they create a symphony of survival. The forest does not speak in isolation, it sings as one. Even on a calm night, when the moonlight filters through the branches and not a breeze stirs, these conversations continue. The roots whisper beneath the soil, The leaves sigh their signals into the air. A forest at rest is not truly resting. It is listening, adjusting, preparing. For us, the chatter is invisible. But for the trees, it is the thread that keeps life woven together. It is how they endure storms, pests, and droughts. It is how they share abundance and bear hardship as one. So when you find yourself surrounded by trees, pause for a moment. Breathe in deeply. Though you cannot sense it, you are standing in the middle of countless conversations. Quiet, constant, and eternal. The forest is never silent. It is always speaking. Every forest has its elders, those towering trees that have stood for centuries, weathering storms, droughts, fires, and the slow passing of seasons. Scientists discovered that these elders are more than just witnesses of time. They are caretakers, playing a role so central and nurturing that they have been called mother trees. A mother tree is often one of the largest in the forest, with roots reaching deep into the soil and branches spreading wide across the canopy. But her influence goes far beyond what we can see. Beneath the ground, she connects to countless others through the mycorrhizal web, sending out streams of nutrients and signals. Saplings clustered in her shadow, too small to gather enough light on their own, are fed by her strength. They receive her carbon, her nitrogen, her water life flowing from the old to the young. This generosity is not limited to her own offspring. While some studies show that seedlings related to the mother tree often receive more, her care extends to many around her. It is as though she holds the forest in balance. Scientists have traced these exchanges, watching as nutrients traveled from a massive tree into fragile seedlings nearby. Without this hidden lifeline, many of those saplings would never survive the deep shade. Thanks to the mother tree, they are given a chance, a gift of time, to grow, to endure, to someday stand tall themselves. It is a role both practical and poetic. In the quiet of the soil, the mother tree becomes the forest's anchor, weaving strength and resilience through generations. Her fall one day will open light to the young. But even in her final years, she ensures that the forest does not falter. When you picture a mother tree, imagine not just the grandeur of her trunk or the breadth of her branches, but the invisible threads that radiate from her roots like veins of light. Each thread carries nourishment, wisdom, and quiet guidance to those still learning how to grow. In this way, the forest reminds us of something deeply human, that life is strongest when the old nurture the young, and that survival is never just about the individual, but the community as a whole. Beneath the sweeping green roof of the forest canopy, families exist in ways we are only beginning to understand. Not families in the human sense, no laughter around a fire, no songs passed down, but families bound by roots and threads, by kinship written in chemistry and soil. Studies have shown that trees can recognize their own relatives. A mother tree does not simply feed any sapling at random. She seems to know which are her children, her kin. These seedlings often receive more care, more carbon and nutrients than unrelated neighbors. It is as though the forest carries its own sense of lineage, passing not only life but preference through the hidden network. This kinship does not mean exclusion. While relatives may be favored, the flow of resources still weaves throughout the community. In times of abundance, even distant seedlings benefit. Yet there is a tenderness in the way mother trees nurture their own, a quiet echo of the way parents in every species give just a little more to their young. Imagine walking through a stand of trees and knowing that beneath your feet, unseen, parents are feeding children. Children are reaching upward with borrowed strength. The canopy above may appear like a crowd of strangers, but underground, it is a family table, with food being passed from hand. In this way, the forest blurs the line between individuality and unity. A tree is not only itself, it is a child of others, a parent to seedlings, a relative in a larger web of care. Each trunk, each branch, each root is part of a story stretching across generations. This hidden sense of family gives the forest resilience. It ensures that life does not vanish when one member falls, but continues, supported by those who remain. Like human families gathering close in times of hardship, the forest, too, closes its circle, sharing what it has, so that life goes on. So the next time you look at a cluster of saplings beneath a towering oak or cedar, imagine the invisible bonds holding them together. They are not simply trees growing side by side. They are families quiet, enduring, and deeply connected beneath the canopy. A forest is not made beautiful by sameness. It is beautiful because of its variety: tall pines beside broad oaks, delicate birches beside sturdy maples, each tree bringing its own shape, its own rhythm, its own quiet gift to the whole. This diversity is more than decoration. It is the very reason a forest can endure. Through the underground network, trees share not only resources, but resilience. Different species bring different strengths. Some are drought-tolerant, able to endure when the rains do not come. Others thrive in wet soils, holding water when the ground floods. Some resist certain insects, while others withstand disease. Together, their differences create balance, a living shield against the challenges of nature. Scientists have found that forests with a rich mix of species are stronger, healthier, and more adaptable than those of just one kind. Like a choir where many voices blend into harmony, diversity creates music that a single note never could. When storms arrive or pests invade, not every tree suffers in the same way. Some withstand the trial, helping others recover, and in this way, the forest survives as a whole. Imagine a human village where every person holds a different skill. One a healer, another a builder, another a gatherer of food. Alone, each may struggle, but together they form a community that can face anything. The forest is just the same. Its strength lies not in uniformity, but in its dazzling variety. Even the fungal threads themselves benefit from this diversity. By linking different species together, they weave a web of survival that stretches across families, across differences, across entire landscapes. Life does not isolate, it entangles, it connects, it strengthens through variety. As you picture the forest now, see it not as a crowd of green, but as a living mosaic. Every tree, every shrub, every sprout is a piece of the whole, and together they remind us of a truth both simple and profound. Survival is not about being the same. It is about being different and standing strong, side by side. In the forest, generosity is not a fleeting act, it is a cycle. An endless circle of giving and receiving that flows quietly beneath the soil. No tree can survive its whole life without help. At some point, each one will lean on the strength of another, and in time, will give back in return. When a tree thrives in sunlight, it produces more sugars than it needs. These extras are sent downward into the fungal threads, flowing outward like rivers of sweetness. Some of that energy finds its way to shaded seedlings, too young to gather their own food. Later, when those seedlings grow taller and strong, they too will share their abundance, feeding the next generation. During hard times, this giving becomes even more profound. In drought, a tree with deep roots may pull water from hidden layers of soil and send it through the network to neighbors whose roots cannot reach as far. When pests or disease strike, the strongest trees may channel their resources to those struggling most. The balance shifts back and forth, like a slow dance where each partner takes turns leading and supporting. It is not unlike a village through the seasons. In years of plenty, families share grain with neighbors. In lean years, those same neighbors return the kindness. Over time, no one goes hungry for long. The forest, too, is built on this quiet reciprocity, ensuring that the community as a whole survives, even when individuals falter. Scientists measuring these exchanges have been astonished by their precision. The flows are not random, but purposeful, directed where they are needed most. It is a reminder that nature, though silent, is far from careless. Every thread, every exchange, is part of a larger design. So as you imagine the forest now, think of it not as a collection of separate trees, but as a circle of hands, each one passing gifts to the next. Energy flows, water flows, life flows. And through this circle of giving, forest endures. Not all the messages passed through the forest are gentle gifts. Some carry urgency, like whispers of warning that spread swiftly through the underground threads and the drifting air above. The forest has its own alarm system, a way of telling each tree, "Be ready, danger is near." When insects begin to chew on the leaves of a single tree, the attack does not go unnoticed. Beneath the ground, that tree releases signals into the fungal web, chemical alerts that ripple outward, touching the roots of its neighbors. Almost instantly, those neighbors respond, changing the chemistry of their leaves, producing bitter compounds, toughening their defenses before the attackers arrive. These warnings do not stop in the soil. In the air, too, leaves exhale distress signals, volatile compounds carried by the breeze. Downwind, other trees catch the message, preparing themselves as if they had heard a cry echo across the canopy. It is a forest-wide readiness, an invisible defense woven from whispers. Scientists studying these responses have watched entire groves alter themselves within hours of one tree being harmed. It is as though the forest shares a nervous system, not of nerves and sparks, but of scents and threads. And while it may not be quick by human standards, it is swift enough to make a difference, to give trees time to resist, to survive. Imagine a village where, in the middle of the night, one household sees flames. Instead of keeping quiet, they call out, their voices carrying across the darkness. One by one, neighbors wake, gather water, and prepare. The fire may never reach them, but because of the warning, they stand ready. This is what the forest does every day, quietly. So when you stand among trees, remember, each one is not only growing for itself, but listening, always alert, ready to protect and be protected. The forest is not silent in the face of danger. It whispers, it warns, and together, it endures. Forests are not measured in seasons the way our lives are. They are measured in centuries, even millennia. Some trees alive today first sprouted when empires rose and fell, when our ancestors still wandered the earth with simple tools. Their roots have held fast through storms, droughts, fires, and endless cycles of growth and decay. These ancient trees are living testaments to time itself. When we look at such giants, we see only their towering trunks and wide crowns. But the real story lies beneath, where their roots spread deep and wide, touching countless others. Through the underground web, the wisdom of age flows outward. The nutrients gathered by deep roots, the stability born of long endurance, are shared with younger neighbors. In this way, the old trees become more than survivors. They become guardians, holding not only the memory of the past, but the promise of the future. Their strength does not vanish into solitude. It is woven into the fabric of the forest, carried forward like stories told from one generation to the next. Some of the oldest trees on Earth, bristlecone pines, are thought to be nearly 5,000 years old. Imagine what they have witnessed: entire civilizations rising and falling while they remain. Their roots still send and receive, still participate in the eternal exchange that keeps life balanced. To picture this, imagine standing by such an ancient tree. Its bark is twisted, scarred by centuries, yet alive. Below, its roots thread through soil that has fed countless generations. Those roots touch the roots of others, passing strength like a torch in an endless relay. And perhaps this is the truest gift of forests. They remind us that while individual lives may be brief, connection endures. A root that stretches into the earth today may still be part of the web centuries from now, carrying life forward into times we cannot imagine. So when you look at a tree older than memory, let yourself feel the weight of eternity in its roots. You are not just looking at wood and leaves, you are looking at a bridge across time, a living bond between what was, what is, and what is yet to come. For a long time, the hidden conversations of the forest were only hints, mysteries glimpsed but not understood. Scientists suspected something was happening beneath the soil, yet they lacked the tools to see it. Then, slowly, Researchers designed experiments with remarkable care. They traced the paths of carbon molecules, marking them with harmless radioactive labels, and watched as those molecules left one tree and appeared in another, carried underground through fungal threads. Cameras and sensors revealed the invisible architecture of roots and mycorrhizae, like mapping an underground city of shimmering filaments. Step by step, the unseen became visible. What once sounded like myth that trees might feed and warn each other was shown to be real. These discoveries astonished even seasoned ecologists. The forest, once thought a collection of individuals, revealed itself as a living network. But science, in its careful precision, does more than confirm facts. It invites us to see the poetry hidden in them. The numbers and graphs tell us what flows, how far, and how quickly. Yet they also open a door for imagination. Rivers of sugar, moving from tree to tree, chemical words floating on the wind, roots glowing like stars beneath the earth. Even the language of science carries wonder. Mycorrhizal networks, volatile organic compounds, mother trees. These terms are technical, but they are also invitations to picture something vast, something magical, happening all around us. And in this blending of evidence and imagination, we find a special kind of peace. We learn that the forest is not only beautiful to our eyes, but intelligent in its own quiet way. We discover that even the most ordinary patch of soil is alive with exchanges we cannot see. So as you rest with this thought, imagine the scientists who crouched at the base of trees, patiently recording, measuring, waiting for results. Imagine their joy when the hidden threads revealed themselves, when the whispers of the forest could finally be heard. Science brings us clarity, wonder brings us awe, and together, they allow us to step into the forest, not just as observers, but as participants in its quiet, endless story. When we listen closely to the stories of the forest, we discover they are not only about trees, they are also about us. The hidden networks beneath the soil are more than scientific curiosities, they are lessons in how to live. In the forest, strength does not come from standing alone. It comes from connection. Trees share with neighbors, care for their young, warn each other of danger. Survival is not a competition, but a collaboration, woven from countless threads of giving and receiving. It is a reminder that life, in its truest form, is cooperative. How different this is from the way we often think of success in human society: individual achievement, personal gain, standing taller than others. The forest whispers another truth: that resilience comes when we support one another, when the strong lend to the weak, when families and communities endure by sharing what they have. Imagine a human village much like a forest. Some people have abundance, others face scarcity. If each keeps only to themselves, many will suffer. But if each shares a little, the whole community flourishes. This is the forest's wisdom, written not in words, but in roots and fungi. Even in hardship, the forest teaches balance. When one tree struggles, others step forward with quiet generosity. When one thrives, it does not hoard its fortune but spreads it outward, ensuring the circle continues. There is no waste, no selfishness. Only the slow rhythm of exchange that sustains all. For us, these lessons are both comforting and inspiring. They remind us that even in our modern world full of noise, speed, and separation, we are never meant to be solitary. Like the trees, we are part of networks too. Families, friends, communities. And the more we nurture those connections, the stronger we become. So as you drift in thought, let the forest be your teacher. Let its quiet example remind you that the deepest form of wisdom is kindness, that the strongest form of survival is togetherness. And just as the trees reach upward to the sun while holding one another through their roots, so too can we reach for our light while remaining bound in care for one another. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the soil beneath your feet as though it were transparent. What at first looks like darkness slowly lights up with threads of silver, weaving in every direction. Some are fine as hair, others thick and branching, all glowing softly as they stretch from root to root. This is the forest's hidden web, a living network that never sleeps. Every root tip that meets a fungal filament is like a spark of connection. One tree reaches another, then another, until the whole woodland is tied together in a web that pulses with life. Carbon flows like gentle rivers, nitrogen moves like golden dust, and chemical signals dart like flickers of light across an unseen constellation. It is not silent, it is alive, humming softly, as though the earth itself were breathing. Scientists sometimes describe this web as the forest's circulatory system, carrying the essentials of life. But perhaps it is even more than that. It is also its nervous system, carrying messages of warning and reassurance. It is its memory, storing the legacy of older trees in the nourishment they pass to the young. And it is its voice, the way the forest speaks without sound. Above ground, we see trees swaying in the wind, seemingly alone, but beneath, they are tied together in this glowing lattice, a unity that makes the forest far greater than the sum of its parts. Imagine standing in a clearing and realizing that the oak before you, the pine behind you, and the sapling at your feet are all touching one another through hidden threads. You are standing inside a single organism, vast and interconnected, breathing all around you. There is wonder in this thought, and also comfort. To know that no tree stands truly alone is to feel the reassurance of belonging. The forest survives because it is bound together, every life a part of the whole. And if we learn to look closely, to listen gently, perhaps we too can feel ourselves as part of that same web, woven into the living, breathing fabric of the earth. If you think of the forest as music, then every tree, shrub, and root is an instrument playing its part. Some play quietly, adding soft notes to the background. Others stand tall, their voices deeper and stronger. Together, they form not noise, but harmony, a symphony of survival that has been playing for millions of years. The hidden web beneath the soil acts as the sheet music, guiding the rhythms of life. One tree shares carbon, another passes water, a third releases signals of warning. Each action is a note, small on its own, but powerful in concert with the rest. The result is balance, an ecosystem that can bend in storms, recover from droughts, and keep thriving through centuries. Think of a seedling, fragile and small, almost inaudible in this orchestra. Without the support of others, it might fade, but the network lifts its voice, feeding it, protecting it, until one day it grows strong enough to add its own melody to the forest. The young are not drowned out by the chorus. They are nurtured into it. Even the fungi, so often invisible, play an essential role. They are the messengers, the conductors, ensuring every instrument comes in at the right time. Without them, the song would falter. With them, it endures layer upon layer, year after year, a composition that never truly ends. Above ground, you might hear wind in the leaves, or the gentle creak of branches. But beneath, there is another kind of music, one we cannot hear but can imagine. Flows of energy, whispers of warning, the hum of roots trading life. This is the forest's masterpiece, not a solo, but a chorus. Not a single story, but countless voices woven together into one. And perhaps, as you picture this symphony playing on, you may feel a sense of calm, a reminder that life, at its strongest, is always lived together. Forests, like all living communities, face trials. Storms tear branches away, lightning ignites fires, droughts parch the soil, and winters sometimes linger longer than expected. And now, with the changing climate, these trials arrive more often, pressing harder against the resilience of the woodland. Yet through it all, the forest's hidden network helps it endure. When drought comes, water is pulled deeper into the soil, beyond the reach of young or shallow-rooted trees. But through the underground web, those with deeper roots share what they find. They send threads of water outward, helping neighbors that would otherwise wither. The crisis does not vanish, but it is softened, spread across many lives so that the whole community survives. When storms strike, felling great trees, the network shifts again. Gaps in the canopy allow sunlight to spill onto the forest floor. The fungal threads, nourished by the fallen wood, direct nutrients into seedlings waiting below. Out of destruction comes renewal, guided quietly by the connections beneath the earth. Even insects and disease, once thought to be purely devastating, are woven into this cycle. A tree under attack does not fall silent. It signals, warning others to prepare. The forest braces as one. And while some may be lost, many more endure because of those whispered alarms. Scientists are beginning to see that these underground conversations play a crucial role in climate resilience. A forest that communicates, that shares, that supports itself, stands a far greater chance of surviving in a world of rising temperatures and shifting rains. It is not just the strength of the tallest trees that matters, but the cooperation of the many an orchestra of roots and fungi, adapting to each change together. For us, this is a message of both caution and hope. Caution, because the forest is not invincible. It needs time and balance to heal. Hope, because even in crisis, it shows us that unity creates endurance. Alone, a tree may fall. Together, the forest breathes on. So as you listen to the soft night sounds or imagine the whisper of leaves, remember, every forest is a teacher in survival. It tells us that though change is inevitable, connection is the thread that allows life to continue. Even in the face of great storms, every forest carries memories, though not in books or written words. Its memory is etched into rings of wood, stored in roots, and passed quietly through the hidden web beneath the soil. Trees remember the past not in the way we recall faces or voices, but in the way they store experience within their very bodies, and then share it with others. Within the trunk of an old tree, you can find stories of seasons long gone. Narrow rings speak of drought years, when water was scarce and growth slowed. Wide rings tell of summers rich with rain and light. Fire scars mark the times when flames licked the bark, but the tree endured. These records are silent diaries, layered one upon another, stretching back centuries. But memory is not only locked inside wood. Through the wood wide web, older trees can pass resilience to younger ones. A mother tree that has endured drought may adjust her own chemistry to cope, and through her roots, she sends signals and nutrients to nearby saplings, helping them prepare for challenges they have never yet faced. In this way, the wisdom of survival becomes a gift, carried forward across generations. Scientists have observed how certain forests, struck by disaster once, seem better prepared when it happens again. This is not coincidence, it is memory, shared through networks of roots and fungi, a kind of living archive written in soil and leaf. Imagine standing among ancient trees, their trunks scarred but strong, their crowns wide and calm. You are not only standing in the present, you are surrounded by the whispers of the past. Every root beneath you carries echoes of storms weathered, droughts survived, and with each passing year, these memories are woven into the fabric of the forest's future. In this way, the forest is a memory bank, holding not only its own history but also the keys to its survival. It reminds us that resilience does not come from forgetting hardship, but from remembering, adapting, and sharing those lessons with those who follow. Perhaps we, too, can learn from this. Our own communities carry memories, stories of struggle, stories of endurance. When we share them, we pass on strength. When we keep them, we help others grow wiser. Like the trees, our memories become not just our own, but part of a greater whole. The forest's web of life feels strong, eternal, unbreakable. Yet it is more fragile than it seems. Those fine threads of fungi that carry food, water, and warning are delicate, easily disturbed by what we do above the ground. A single cut through the soil, a patch of clear cutting, or heavy machinery pressing down can sever countless invisible links in an instant. When these connections are broken, the forest weakens. Saplings may lose the lifelines that feed them. Older trees may no longer share their abundance with the young. Warnings of drought or pests may fail to reach neighbors in time. What once was a chorus becomes scattered voices, unable to hold the harmony together. Deforestation does more than remove trees. It shatters the underground networks that took centuries to form. A fallen trunk can be replaced with time, but the web beneath, delicate, ancient, woven patiently year by year, is not easily rebuilt. Even practices that seem harmless can wound the hidden community. Soil compacted by roads or heavy footsteps loses its breath, making it harder for fungi to live. Chemicals poured into the earth can poison the very threads that bind the forest. Each disruption weakens not only a tree but the entire community it belongs to. Scientists warn us that the resilience of forests depends on these unseen networks. Without them, ecosystems collapse more easily under the pressure of climate change. What once withstood droughts and storms together may falter when its bonds are broken. It is humbling to realize how much depends on what we cannot see. We walk through forests, admiring the trunks and leaves, rarely thinking of the hidden web that sustains them. Yet it is this fragile lacework beneath the soil that keeps the forest alive. Imagine holding a spider's web in your hand, strong enough to catch the wind, yet so delicate it can be torn with the lightest touch. The forest network is much the same, resilient in its design, but vulnerable to careless harm, and so the trees whisper a quiet truth. To protect them, we must tread gently, remembering that beneath every step lies a world of connection, unseen but essential. Though the forest's hidden web is fragile, it is not beyond repair. Like wounds that slowly knit closed, the threads of life beneath the soil can be mended with time, care, and gentle hands. Where damage has been done, healing is possible, if we allow the forest space to breathe again. When new trees are planted, they do more than add green to the landscape. Their roots reach downward, searching for connection, seeking the fungi that linger in the soil. Slowly, the network awakens. Saplings begin to exchange signals, forming fresh alliances, weaving new threads into the tapestry of life. A forest can recover, though it takes years, sometimes centuries, for the underground web to regain its strength. Conservation efforts today often focus on more than just planting trees. They aim to restore soil health, protect fungal communities, and ensure diversity in the species that return. Each piece matters: trees, fungi, soil, water, because the web thrives only when all are present. Even small acts can help. Protecting old growth allows mother trees to keep nourishing their young. Reducing chemical use keeps the soil alive for fungal partners. Leaving fallen logs to decay may look untidy, but those rotting trunks become food and shelter for countless organisms, feeding the network again. The healing of threads is not a quick process, but it is a steady one. Left undisturbed, life has a remarkable way of stitching itself back together. Forests scarred by fire often send up shoots within weeks. Woodlands cut bare can sprout with green once more, if given the chance. The web beneath the soil is patient, always waiting to reweave its connections. For us, this is a reminder that our relationship with forests can be one of harm or of care. Every action we take, each tree we plant, each patch of land we protect, becomes part of the story of healing. And when we choose to restore instead of destroy, we are not only helping trees, but also reviving the invisible lifelines that keep the earth alive. So, as you picture a forest tonight, imagine not only what has been lost, but what can return. Picture roots reaching toward each other again, fungi stretching like delicate threads, the quiet pulse of connection slowly reawakening. The web may be fragile, but it is also resilient, always ready to mend if we allow it. Every inhale we take is a reminder of the bond we share with the forest. The air filling our lungs, invisible and effortless, is a gift given freely by trees. They breathe out what we breathe in, and in turn, we exhale what they need. This exchange is as constant as the rhythm of our hearts, tying us together in ways both simple and profound. When sunlight touches leaves, trees draw in carbon dioxide, the gas we release with every breath. Through photosynthesis, they transform it into sugars to feed themselves. And in the process, they release oxygen, clean, life-giving air that drifts across the earth. It is an unbroken cycle, a partnership older than humanity itself. But this bond is not just chemical. It is intimate, personal. The very air that fills your chest right now may have passed through the canopy of a forest thousands of miles away. Each breath carries with it a trace of distant leaves, a whisper of green life still at work. We are, in a very real sense, breathing the forest into ourselves. The underground web of roots and fungi only deepens this connection. By sharing nutrients and resilience among themselves, trees ensure that the air they create remains abundant. A healthy forest exhales more strongly, a chorus of oxygen flowing outward to every corner of the world. And when forests are damaged, the air we all depend on weakens. Think of it as a quiet conversation between us and the trees. With every breath out, we say, "Here is my carbon." With every breath in, they answer, "Here is your oxygen." It is an endless dialogue, unspoken but essential, reminding us that we are never separate from nature, but always intertwined with it. As you rest now, notice your own breathing slow, steady, effortless. Each inhale carries the forest's gift. Each exhale carries something it needs. Our breath, their breath, a rhythm that binds us, a thread of life shared across all living things. And in that soft awareness, perhaps you will feel the forest not as something distant, but as part of yourself, woven into your very lungs. Present in every moment of your being, the forest gives so much shade, water, food, shelter, and the very air we breathe. Yet its gifts are fragile, and our choices matter. Though the hidden web of roots and fungi seems vast, it can be broken with surprising ease. The question then becomes, what can we do, in our own quiet ways, to protect it? The steps are simpler than we often think. Planting a tree is one of the most powerful. Even a single sapling, given time, can connect to the web beneath the soil, adding a new voice to the forest's chorus. When done with care, choosing native species, planting in healthy soil, this small act becomes part of the great work of renewal. Protecting old growth is just as important. These ancient giants, the mother trees, hold more than wood and shade. They are the anchors of the underground network, feeding the young and stabilizing the community. When they are preserved, entire ecosystems remain strong. Supporting soil health also matters. Avoiding heavy chemicals, letting fallen leaves and logs remain where they are, and treating the forest floor with respect. All of these help the delicate fungi thrive. It is not always about planting something new. Sometimes it is simply about letting what exists breathe without disturbance. Even in daily life, far from the forest, our choices ripple outward. Using less paper, recycling, reducing waste, supporting sustainable products. Each decision lessens the weight we place on forests around the world. Small actions, multiplied across many people, become powerful threads of healing. Most importantly, we can learn to see forests not just as resources to be used, but as communities to be honored. When we walk among trees, we can remember the lives beneath our feet, the hidden networks that make our air and our future possible. To walk gently, to pause in gratitude, to teach others what we have learned. As you think of this now, imagine your own actions as tiny seeds. Each one, though small, has the power to grow, to connect, to contribute to the larger web of life. Just as no tree stands alone, no choice is too small. Together, our steps can weave a future where the forest continues to thrive. When most people look at a forest, they see a collection of trees, rows of trunks, crowns of leaves, perhaps a place for walking or gathering wood. But the truth is deeper, more tender. A forest is not simply a resource, nor just a backdrop to our lives. It is a community, alive with bonds that mirror our own. Each tree is an individual, yes, but never an island. Through the hidden web, they are family, neighbors, partners in survival. They feed one another when times are hard, warn one another when danger comes, and nurture the young until they are strong enough to stand on their own. What looks like competition from the outside is, at its heart, a quiet dance of cooperation. Seeing the forest in this way changes how we relate to it. Instead of endless rows of timber waiting to be cut, we begin to see elders and children, storytellers and listeners, protectors and the protected. We begin to feel that what stands before us is not just a collection of trees, but a society, rich with purpose and meaning. Even the smallest members play their part. The moss that softens a fallen log, the fungi that thread through the soil, the shrubs that shelter tiny animals, each belongs, each contributes. Together, they form a web of life as complex and intricate as any human town or city. When we recognize the forest as a community, our sense of responsibility deepens. We would not cut through a village without care. We would not take without giving back. And so, in the same way, we learn to walk gently among trees, to protect what sustains us, to see value not only in wood or shade but in the living connections that make the forest whole. Imagine, then, stepping into a forest not as a visitor, but as a guest. Each trunk you pass is not just a piece of nature, but a member of a vast, breathing community. And you, too, are part of it, your breath mingling with theirs, your steps weaving into their story. The forest is not a backdrop. It is a gathering, a family, a community. To see it this way is to begin to understand its true wonder. When night falls over the forest, a hush settles across the canopy. The last birds quiet their songs, and the wind softens to a gentle sigh. To human ears, it may feel like silence, an empty stillness beneath the stars. But to the forest itself, night is not the end of conversation. It is simply another chapter. Beneath the soil, the web of roots and fungi continues its steady work. Nutrients still flow, signals still pass, threads still pulse with the slow heartbeat of the woodland. In the cool dark, saplings continue to receive their mother tree's gifts, and warnings still ripple quietly through the soil. The forest does not sleep, it breathes, unhurried, unseen. Above, the moonlight paints the leaves silver, and shadows pool at the base of ancient trunks. The air is rich with scent, damp earth, fallen needles, and the faint sweetness of wildflowers that close their blooms for rest. To stand among trees at night is to feel both very small and very safe, as though wrapped in the arms of something older than time. Tiny creatures stir in the darkness, moths drifting like floating petals, owls gliding silently through the branches, beetles tracing secret paths across bark. Even in darkness, life does not stop, it simply shifts, moving more quietly, more carefully. And yet, perhaps the most mysterious part of night in the forest is what we cannot see. The invisible chatter continues, gases rising into the air, threads weaving beneath the soil. Roots touching roots in endless connection. It is a hidden symphony playing beneath the stars, one that never ceases, not even in the deepest hours before dawn. As you imagine this, picture yourself lying at the edge of a clearing, the canopy above like a cathedral ceiling of branches. The night is cool, the ground firm but welcoming. Each breath you take feels shared, as though the trees are exhaling just for you. The forest at night is not silent, it is softly alive, whispering secrets to those willing to listen. In this stillness, you may feel what the trees have always known, that even in darkness, even in silence, connection never ends. As we near the end of our journey through the forest, let us pause for a moment to reflect. What seemed, at first, to be only a gathering of trees, has revealed itself to be so much more, a world of hidden conversations, silent gifts, and bonds stronger than storms. We have seen how roots and fungi weave threads of connection beneath the soil, how trees share water and food in times of need, and how they whisper warnings of danger to one another. We have met the mother trees, steady and generous, feeding the young. We have watched acacias defend themselves with messages carried on the wind. We have stood in the quiet of night, realizing that silence in the forest is never truly empty. The lesson, again and again, is clear. The forest is not a collection of individuals. It is a community, a family, a symphony. Its strength is not in standing apart, but in standing together. Every tree, every shrub, every fungal thread plays its part in the survival of the whole. And this truth reaches beyond the forest itself. It speaks to us as well. For we, too, are part of networks, families, friendships, communities. Our survival, our resilience, comes not from isolation, but from connection. The forest is a mirror, showing us what it means to live with generosity, with balance, with care for one another. As you let these thoughts settle, imagine once more the soil glowing faintly beneath your feet, each root and filament carrying light like stars scattered in the dark. Imagine that web extending outward, across forests, across landscapes, binding the earth together in one vast breathing system. The forest reminds us of something both humbling and hopeful, that we belong to a living planet, and that by caring for it, we also care for ourselves. So tonight, as you drift toward rest, let this reflection be a comfort. You are never alone. You are part of the web. You are part of the story. And now, as our journey through the forest draws to a close, let us linger for just a moment longer beneath its quiet canopy. Around us, the trees stand tall, their crowns brushing the night sky, their roots stretching deep into the earth. The hidden web beneath continues its eternal work, carrying messages and gifts, weaving life together in silence. We have walked among ancient giants and fragile saplings, listened to whispers beneath the soil, and breathed in the conversations carried on the wind. We have seen how trees care for one another, how they warn, protect, and nurture, and how their strength lies not in isolation, but in community. The forest, in its endless patience, has shared its wisdom with us, that life flourishes through connection, that generosity ensures survival, and that memory carried in rings, roots, and hidden threads guides the future. As you close your eyes now, imagine lying at the edge of the woodland, the night air cool against your skin. The trees sway gently overhead, their leaves rustling like a lullaby. With every breath, you feel the rhythm of their life moving through you, your inhale filled with their gift of oxygen, your exhale a gift they quietly receive. In this soft exchange, you are part of the forest's story. You are not separate, but connected, woven into the same fabric of life that binds root to root, tree to tree, and forest to sky. So let this be your farewell, not an ending, but a gentle pause. The forest will continue to whisper, to breathe, to care for itself, and for us, long after this moment. And whenever you return in thought, in dream, or in step, it will be waiting, steady and alive. Thank you for walking slowly with me through its hidden world. Until next time, may your sleep be as deep as the roots, your dreams as tall as the trees, and your heart as calm as the forest at night. Subscribe if you wish to hear more of these gentle science stories, more journeys into the quiet wonders of our world. Good night from the trees.